welcome everyone. You were listening to, perhaps watching Hot Sauce Sports. First of all, the show is called Not Sauce Work on the Hot Sauce Sports Network.
Technically, they are watching Hot Sauce Sports, right?
They are. And one of the shows on Hot Sauce Sports is Not Sauce Work. I'm your host, Pease Delarice. I'm exhausted. Eagles exhausted. We had a weekend. This is either going to be awesome or terrible. So we're so tired, we're delirious. I think that might lead to good content in reality, Terry. Yeah, that's what I think is up.
So you guys are tired from, and we were talking about this off air, but you guys are tired from something just happened to the Sound Eagle. Go on. There you good. So you guys are tired from like working all weekend at Flag Plus, but I'm like, you hear it in my throat. This is from puking all weekend. I had either food poisoning or gastro. I think it was food poisoning because I only shat once, and when I Googled it, everything I had was more close to food poisoning. But I also babysat my nephew that had gastro, so maybe I got it from him. I don't know, but
it takes a few days usually.
Why would you eat your nephew?
Yeah,
I mean, he was just
gastro.
You see him, he's so cute. He's delicious.
Spoon.
Yeah. So I was just hurling all weekend. That's why I lost my voice, and I had football yesterday too. I'm just a mess. I've been a mess the last 3 weeks, and it's because I'm just burning a candle at both ends.
Yeah, understandable.
I don't know, Terry. I was always under the impression you've been a mess for your entire life. So 3 weeks seems like a very short duration.
It's the mess. So that you have to create a mess on a bell curve, right? And
yeah.
So like Terry's normal mess.
Can we call it Terry's mess? Is put on a Richter scale?
Yeah.
So Terry's mess would be what? Like this weekend is more like a 4.3, but on average you're kind of hovering around a 3.6. When you have those catastrophic events, it's like a 7.2 type of disaster.
Yeah.
So
I'm operating an 8.9 this last couple weeks.
It's the equivalent of if Eagle didn't do all of my paperwork, or rather, what my paperwork looked like before Eagle did
all of your work period.
Yeah, all of my work period. I wanted to bring this up just because once in a while you kind of notice a story early, and then before you know it, it's all over the place, and there's a documentary, and you see the thing that people say, well, how come the news isn't talking about this? And meanwhile, I've been reading the story for 2 years. R. Kelly was one of these for me, because a lot of what happened in the later parts of his can we call it a predatory degree in sexual deviance?
Sure, it sounds pretty accurate to me.
Yeah. So in that later predatory career, he was set up in Georgia, where I spent a lot of time, as you guys know, as well as the audience has been with us. He set up a sex cult in Georgia. Is one of the
I didn't know this.
Oh, it's wild. It's wild. They covered a lot actually in the documentary for those who haven't seen it. So he's been found guilty on all charges, and some of the charges actually go back to his marriage to Aaliyah. And what's interesting is that would have passed the what's it called?
Wait, R. Kelly was married to Aaliyah?
When she was 15. Apparently, they began a sexual relationship when she was 13. Yeah. So
shocked. I'm a bit shocked. I had no idea.
So they were able to pursue it because normally the statute of limitations would have expired. But so one of the things R. Kelly did was bring women across state lines to do things that are considered to be immoral and illegal and so on. And that's falls under what's called the Mann Act in the United States. And the next thing was that he used women to recruit other women, thus making it organized crime. So they used a RICO case to go after him for all the charges, as for racketeering and organized
influence, influence of the corrupt organizations.
Absolutely.
I took a crime and punishment class in university. I know what I'm talking about.
Well, there you go. You finally got to use it for once.
Yeah.
Was it in university or was it in jail when you're trying to get yourself not convicted? I have no filter. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Eagle taking a nap. A couple of days. It was one of those things where the internet exploded all at once. How come no one's talking about it? I was like, there's already been several books and several articles. He's done this over 4 decades of his life. Going back to the 90s, essentially. and people swept it wrong. And I want to just have this conversation quickly before we get onto the news. I find it hard, and I think part of it is when you discover things about a person and whether or not they can still profit, and whether or not what the art form is kind of has an influence for me. But for example, like I'm never going to go onto Spotify and search R. Kelly, right? Like I'm just not going to do it. I'm not interested, and it doesn't. Like I don't care. Like he's obviously not going to profit off the music anymore because he's in prison, and I don't think he's getting out. The sentencing hasn't happened yet. But
didn't they sentence him to life?
They haven't sentenced him yet. They will, and it's going to be a massive penalty.
I read life.
It's up to life because he.
Oh, up to life. Okay, so it's not an official sentencing yet. Okay, I get what you're saying.
But there's so many crimes that even if it's not life, he's never getting out. Essentially.
See, I've never been like I'm gonna Google R. Kelly's music, but like I like Mr. Biggs, like that was a good song, like that that song.
He had absolute bangers, right?
Yeah.
But just I don't know. There's other good songs.
Ignition was great.
Yeah.
What's the boxing?
I'm really big on Trapped in the Closet chapters 1 to 5.
Yeah, that was Mr. Biggs. That was the one I was talking about.
But yeah, when you realize
great.
he was actually trapping women in the closet
then
for years.
You know what's weird, and this is what celebrities do, and I guess they think that we're stupid, and Chris D'Elia was one of them, is that they play the role.
Yeah, that hide in plain sight, right?
They hide in plain sight. Like Chris D'Elia.
Woody Allen would make movies where he was dating or marrying underage women to try and normalize it. And like I was just gonna say, so like I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I will still watch Mallrats even though, Harvey Weinstein was the producer behind those movies. But can I watch Bill Cosby again? I don't know. I don't think so. It's creepy.
I don't care if Bill Cosby got acquitted of. I mean, he did get acquitted of all his charges.
Well, but no, he didn't get acquitted. The charges were thrown out.
Okay.
Technicality, using a precedent that's never been used in Pennsylvania.
And
before.
you said you did a law course.
I'm doing a real estate law course. I didn't do a law course. I did a crime and punishment course. It was very different.
He just read. He read the notes on the book Crime and Punishment.
I remember I used to fuck. Who did I take that class with? But it was a good class.
You watched Law and Order, Special Victims Unit.
Yo, it's a banger of a song. Speaking of bangers of a song, maybe the greatest theme song of all time. It's instantly iconic.
Actually, that's a good conversation. I had this conversation with a friend of mine because it was I think Barstool put it up. It was like best theme songs out of all these shows. Dexter wasn't on there. Like, what's the best theme song for you out of all? Goof Troop. I don't remember Goof Troop.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But let's talk live action.
Oh, Darkwing Duck also. If you can do
that one's also really good.
Yeah, Darkwing Duck's the greatest.
It's not live action.
You're right. That's not live action. Full House. Well, so there was one band. There was one band that did the music for like Full House, Step by Step, Family Matters. They got like a contract with Miller Boyette, and they did all their shows.
Step by Step.
Too many cooks. I'll send you the video after. It's 10 minutes.
What was Step by Step's song? I'm trying. It's in the back. I love Step by Step.
Whatever happened to something? No,
something
else?
That's Full House.
Maybe.
Whatever happened to not reasonability. Predictability.
The newsman to something. Something TV.
TV. We're on the same.
You just pick out words that you remember here.
How are we not saying Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Oh, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah. Wonder Years.
Of course, that's a Beatles song.
Then if you talk about like dramas, like Sopranos is good. Got Yourself a Gun. Mm-hmm. Dexter, because of like the whole scene.
I have the Sopranos song on a playlist. That band did nothing else that was good.
Nothing.
But that song is incredible.
But I was gonna say, like, I think those don't count. If you have a band who already did a song and then becomes the theme song to a show, I don't think those count. Because
it's written for it.
Has to be written for the show, yeah.
Okay, so
like Iris and Nicolas Cage's what's that movie?
Google
Dolls.
Movie
with Angels. Google Dolls wrote that song for a movie.
It's a City of Angels.
City of Angels, that's the one.
So the thing is, City of Angels, Google Dolls wrote the whole soundtrack and it became their album.
Yeah, but see, that's fine though. It was written in the purpose of the movie. Like I'm thinking of like
same movie birthed the song "Uninvited" by Lance Morissette, also written for that movie.
True.
There you go.
Like I'm thinking like a show like remember Chuck? They had Straight Skirt, Long Jacket written. Short skirt, long jacket written by Cake essentially. I'm like that doesn't count. It's a great theme song for a show, but it doesn't count.
Even Power.
Sorry.
Does The Office count? Because that's a
The Office counts.
There's no like words or anything, but like
Curb Your
it's
Enthusiasm. Exactly. Beats it.
Simpsons. I mean, a lot of them.
The Power has a good one. Power is 50
it.
Cent. 50 Cent is the executive producer of the show, and he wrote a song for the intro, and it's a good one. It's not like a good song, but it's good for the show. You know what I mean? Like there's like it's not gonna be like a top 10, but it's like you listen to it and you're like, okay, I'm gonna watch a good episode. You know?
Yeah.
Last one, Peas. I think you'll recognize it. It's the news.
Wow.
Perhaps the greatest theme song ever written. Terry, it's the news. You
guys met? It should have been Eagle.
What we do is actually like kind of what The Office does, but like with less talented people. Because we do like a cold open, and then the theme starts, and then the show starts. So this is if like The Office was just people that aren't talented. That's what they would do. Yeah,
exactly. That's basically us. We're The Office without talent. Did you watch the show Wet Hot American Summer?
I have. Yeah, of course.
Oh my God.
The show and movie.
There's a movie?
So the show is a prequel to the movie which came out 30 years ago, but they're all like 18, 19 years old, because they're all like all these like improv kids who are on the verge of breaking. They all, of course, have these amazing careers, but so they go back, and so the show is actually a prequel to the movie.
Okay.
But even though it's a prequel, like the one of the guys is supposed to be like super hot, and like now he's like a giant fat dude. You know, but like they still treat him like he's like this hot young guy. It's genius. It's one of the funniest things ever.
Okay, because I'm watching 10 Years Later on Netflix. Is that the movie?
No, it's called Wet Hot American Summer. Same name.
No, Wet Hot American Summer 10 Years Later. It's not the same one?
I have to look up. I know that one's a prequel, but
there's two of them. There's Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah.
Summer Camp Firewood, whatever it's called. And then there's
that first one is a prequel to the movie that came out in the 90s, and then they have the 10 years after also.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken. I
didn't see. No. Yeah, because this one's more recent. Yes, I didn't see the. It's unbelievable.
It's John Benjamin. You can make me laugh as a can any day.
Yeah, his voice. He plays on something else. I'm trying to figure out what it is. I'm pretty sure it's Hoops.
He's the voice of Archer. He's the voice of Bob's Burgers.
Oh, it's Bob's Burgers. That's what it is. Oh, wow, you just fucking shot on my universe.
So anyway, speaking of which, I want to talk about sports. Has a lot to do with accountability. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, we had this whole conversation with Naomi Osaka and the post-game press conference, and I'm sort of 50-50. I think the press conference is out of date, which was my main takeaway that time, but there is part of it where I can understand the athletes want to take control of their careers, and maybe there's just sort of a middle ground, but part of what you sign up for the job is the press conference. I start to think about why that is, and what it is that we're actually demanding accountability from athletes in a way that we expect from politicians who have press conferences, right? But like, you don't ask a teacher at the end of their day to go up and talk to their parents about, well, it was a tough day in class today. Little Susie didn't hand in her art on time and threw off the whole like flow of the class. So it's one of these things, but the athlete, of course, we always hold the athlete up. And
can I counter example you?
Go ahead.
If every classmate fails an exam, the parents are going to demand accountability and start asking those questions, right? And
the thing is, it's still even within that, it's two-tiered in that the players largely go up and say nothing, but people pay a lot of attention. But I feel like a lot of times the coaches, they're the ones who actually should be held accountable, right? Because they get credit for all the success. But when I see what Matt Nagy did with Justin Fields, and how he's handled the entire Justin Fields thing off the bat, like when your organization makes that kind of investment, and to see that this is done, and Eagles going to put up the stats right here. These were the drives. We know that they gained 20 less yards than Justin Tucker's kick this weekend. We know that he gained 1 passing yard because of the sack yardage.
He had 69 passing yards and 68 sacked yards.
Yeah, so he ended with 1 yard.
1 yard neutral. Yeah, 1 yard net.
And you see here, like, other than the field goal, it's punt, halftime, punt, and a whole bunch of negative yards.
So Dan Orlovsky went on like this crazy rant. I don't know if you saw it.
I haven't seen it.
So Dan Orlovsky, he's as bad as a quarterback he is. He's actually a super smart guy. The pride of University of Connecticut, soon to be taken over by Jack Jodas, whatever. So he came out and he's like, and he's saying exactly what you said. is that Nagy needs to be held accountable completely for this loss and for Justin Fields' development in this game, because as soon as he drafted him, he's like, he should have had a game plan built in for Justin Fields. I don't know football terminology. I played football my whole life. I don't know like pass protections and all that shit. But like,
because offensive line play is a mystery, by the way. That's you need a doctorate degree to truly understand offensive line play.
I read a stat saying that he only had at 95% of his dropbacks, he only had 5-man protection for a rookie quarterback against the fucking Cleveland Browns that have Myles Garrett on the team. Like, you got to figure this shit out. Like, you throw a couple guys back there to help him out. Put 2 tight ends every single fucking play. Help the king out of it.
I have 2 theories about Matt Nagy. One is that the draft pick was forced on him and he legitimately doesn't want to play Justin Fields. And the second theory is when the field goal that hit both like poles.
Yeah.
The double doink, when that happened.
Cody Parkey.
Cody Parkey broke his brain. He's just not the same person, hasn't recovered.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how this guy who's touted as an offensive genius goes into that game, is almost, like you said, minimal protection the entire game, doesn't run any run pass options, doesn't run any running option plays. You have this running back that you invested a high draft pick in a couple years ago, Montgomery, who's supposed to be this great pass catcher you never throw to. You have a running quarterback that you don't build a running package in for. You draft a quarterback who gets, apparently there were weeks he was getting 0 reps. Why is he on the roster? Why did you pick him? Why did you take him?
We spoke about this last week, and it doesn't make sense. Listen, if you feel a guy is not ready, and you're in the Niners situation where you have a guy that can actually get you there right now, like and Trey Lance is, let's take advantage of the fact that we've drafted him. We can groom him for a year, 2 years, whatever it is. Jordan Love, kind of the same situation. But like when you have a guy and you're Andy Dalton is your starting quarterback. There needs to be like his development needs to be put on fast forward. So as soon as he's drafted, regardless if it was your choice or not. If I manage people for a living, if I get somebody on my team and I don't know the person, there wouldn't be my first choice. I'm still gonna manage them and coach them the same way I would everybody else, and coach their certain skill sets to a certain extent, to a different degree. You don't get to choose everybody, the entire team. You're the coach. You're not the general manager.
Look at what Harbaugh did, going from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. There can't be two more different quarterbacks than those 2 human beings, right?
Exactly.
And then so that was one instance. The other instance that I thought of this weekend was, what was the Falcons' plan?
The Falcons are just bad. They're just the worst team in the NFL, I think.
So, but Arthur Smith comes in, right? And he's he designed the running game for the Tennessee Titans and Derrick Henry and all that. Cool. He's the one who took the ball out of Deion Lewis's hands and started giving it to the guy who's shaped like a garage door. Got it. Cool. So your plan is to bring this running attack to Atlanta with Mike Davis, who's a career backup, very good career backup, but a career backup.
One of the best.
An aging Matt Ryan who desperately needs help around him, and Cordarrelle Patterson is your goal line back. He's a receiver. He's still wearing 84. It's ugly to look at. He's 10 years into his career, and you would think he's going to reinvent himself. Like he's a very good athlete. He's fine.
Crazy athlete.
But neither of these guys are going to give you what you had with Derrick Henry, right? And so instead you're putting it all on Matt Ryan, which was the problem for the first all of the years of Matt Ryan's career, right?
The Falcons are like I can't give you another example of a bigger fall off than what the Falcons did after they lost the Super Bowl against the Patriots like 4 years ago.
How about the Steelers after going 11-0 last year?
But that's regular.
Tripped on a yard marker.
No, but the next year,
yard marker on the floor.
The next year,
paint.
you just kind of like
painted. Terry, there's no elevation difference. It's just painted.
He just fell. He fell over. Stib and Zhang. The episode's coming out tomorrow. Sorry, it's out right now. He talked. He's like, it looked like he was a tree. He just kind of like stiffened up.
Well, remember, I told you last week. He looks like he's wearing. He's taking care of the kids' play, and he's trying to participate. So he's dressed in like a tree costume, and he's chasing after the kids, trying to round them up and falling on his face.
It's classic.
He looks like a PBS production at this point.
Okay, so let's talk about. I know this is off topic, but let's talk about Mike Tomlin. And so back to my point. First is back to my point. So the Falcons were like a huge fall off. They're different because the next year after they lost the Super Bowl, everybody's like Falcons are going to win the Super Bowl next year. They're a good team if they keep most of the same guys, whatever, all that shit. Everybody says the same thing every year, right?
I know because my ticket prices went up drastically.
Oh, there you go.
One year to the next in Atlanta.
There you go. But Mike Tomlin. As much as I like Mike Tomlin, I think that there's a lot of accountability on that side too. It's like you can draft as many defensive players in the first round you want, and then they drafted Najee Harris this year, who's been playing really well. Yeah, great player, unbelievable talent. But you see Ben Roethlisberger he can't even touch his toes anymore. Like he's not flexible. He has no mobility. Yeah. Like he's not the Ben that did all those things for you all those years ago. And I think we need to realize that as good as he can still be, he'll probably still have a game of like 370 yards, 4 touchdowns, maybe
it's
a pick.
It's going to take him 49 passes to get to 370 yards.
But that's what I'm saying. And they didn't throw any passes over like 15 yards. And then they had one successful play. It was like a screen. It like the team does not look like the Steelers. They do not look
the guy
like
spends 276 days a year in a walking boot. You think he can throw past 15 yards?
It makes no sense.
He's done.
Makes no sense. They should have drafted a quarterback this year.
Well, that's it. There's no contingency plan. I actually, to your point about Mike Tomlin, Chris Sims, who is becoming more and more sort of famous for his football takes, and people sort of consider him to be one of these guys who really understands the game. He was saying that Tomlin is a good coach in a very specific circumstance. He's a good leader of men. People follow him. People genuinely love him. People genuinely like him. He seems to be a good human being, and people like working for people like that. But he's not Kyle Shanahan, who designs a running game where Eagle can get 200 yards in an NFL game.
Kyle Shanahan can also suck my balls, man. That guy screwed me over in week 1. Keeping Trey Sermon on the fucking under radar. And I'm like, okay, like he's going to play, right?
He wasn't dressed in week 1, dude.
I know, but nobody knew until like 30 minutes before the game. Yeah. And I wasn't paying attention to my lineup at that time. I set my lineup like at 11 o'clock. And then after that, whatever happens, happens. Right?
I think I tweeted the Trade Sermon was out, by the way.
Okay, but I probably didn't see it. If I had seen it, I would have taken him out. So I'm like, this guy just fucked me over. Like, I'm looking at reports. I'm like, oh. So, yeah, Kyle Shanahan can fuck right off.
But other than that, he designs a good game plan, and that's not what Mike Tomlin is. He's a guy who, if you have good pieces, he can win games because he's going to maximize what he has on the field. So 13 years ago today, Duke and I went to our graphite Duke went to a football game. Went to see the then Oakland Raiders take on the then San Diego Chargers. LaDainian Thomas
I still call them the San Diego Chargers.
You're right. I had to think about it just because it was two thens. If it was already the Las Vegas Raiders, I would have said the Las Vegas Raiders against the San Diego Chargers.
I still say Oakland. I still say, my brother's an Oakland fan. That's what I say. Both our brothers are Oakland fans.
Yeah, they're not smart. They're not smart people.
Doofuses.
But so we were there when Sebastian Janikowski went out there to kick a 75-yard field goal.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, we were there. Duke was so mad. So mad. You have no idea how angry he was.
Oh, man. If only you guys had a GoPro.
Lane Kiffin was subsequently fired by Al Davis, and this is what that looked like. That's right. Only 13 years ago, he was still in front of a projector, listing the reasons why he was fired. Spoiler alert, nobody could read it because it's a projector in a giant room full of people. The technology had already moved beyond that point. Al Davis.
So he did like a press conference and he had the projector behind him?
Yeah. Look at what he's wearing. He looks like he's like the guy who can't let go of his youth, and he's wearing his high school Letterman jacket.
I'd rather look like we talk about Al Davis, how crazy he was in his later years, but I think his son is a little crazier.
Yeah, I think so, because at least Al Davis was a pioneer at one point.
Yeah,
right?
Who would voluntarily have that haircut? It makes no sense to me.
I don't think it's voluntary. I think there's not a lot that can be done. He's hanging on to the last few strands and growing them as long as possible.
If your hair is like that, it's voluntary. Your hair, the way it is right now, is voluntary. I voluntarily put this hat on. He voluntarily wakes up every morning and he does that to his hair. That's voluntary.
Fair.
He makes this decision every morning. How can you trust him as a person, as a decision maker? This is the decision he's woken up to every morning.
Well, there was another decision this week, and it led to the longest touchdown in NFL history. And the same week that the Janikowski kicked that field goal, we get to see 2 kicks. Let's watch this first one here. It's Arizona lining up against Jacksonville.
Got it up. And short. Agnew brings it out of the end zone. Agnew still running. Agnew down the sideline. Agnew. Touchdown, Jacksonville. 109 yards. Incredible.
So, what I've noticed, how we spoke about this, I think last week. Mm-hmm. How is it always Gus Johnson?
I know he always gets the good calls. Well, there was one. You'll see the next kick later, and you're gonna realize, man, I wish this was Gus Johnson instead. Yeah. It's almost like Castellanos and hitting home runs, right? Like
exactly. Yeah.
He's just always right place, right time, wrong place.
So I actually didn't hate the decision to go for a kick here. If you have a guy that has a boot and they do,
but apparently,
I don't hate the decision.
You're like the guy who bets on a game and doesn't check the weather report and bets the over when there's like 38 feet of snow. Like the winds were insane in this game. Apparently, like they're having trouble making kicks in practice. And so, when I heard about the decision, it's so bad. Eagle had told me, he's like, in the Jacksonville game, there's a 109-yard kick return on a missed field goal. And I instantly assumed it was Urban Meyer. That's how bad the decision was. I just assumed it was Urban Meyer.
It's true, he did.
And I was like, Urban Meyer's like, no. He's like, they actually played it properly.
So to Survivor, I was really hoping, I was watching this game really tightly because I wanted Jacksonville to lose. I had taken Cleveland. I had bet this week against Matt Nagy. That's basically what I decided to do. I was like, Matt Nagy was the quarterback.
I started the Cleveland defense in every fantasy league, by the way. And there's one that gets like a bonus for sacks and interceptions. And I had like 29 points for my defense.
So I was rooting for Jacksonville hard here, and they could have done it, man. But Urban Meyer's gonna Meyer. That's basically what it is.
I didn't watch the game because again, Eagle and I, we had play-by-play stuff going on that weekend. So all I saw was the highlights. I did watch a couple of games in entirety later on when I couldn't sleep. But it was Jacksonville's never going to be the option when it's rewatching games at 3:00 in the morning.
Definitely not.
The other one, of course. Here's the call on Justin Kicker's. Justin Kicker. His name should be Justin Kicker. Justin Kicker's record-setting 66-yard field goal.
8th best kicker of all time.
Kick is on its way, and it looks good.
That's not the one.
That's not the one, Eagle. That's the one from the playoffs.
Come on, Eagle.
No.
Come on.
I was
Eagle.
like, why is it so cold in September?
Why is it so close? Is the first thing I said.
This is the clip.
Why is it so cold? Why is it so cold inside?
All right. So for the listening audience, what we totally saw was the ball kicked from 60 yards away. It grazes the front pole and bounces in. And a thing that never happens. That always bounces out.
It didn't even graze. It literally as it fell,
on it.
Bah!
Yeah.
And just popped back up. It was crazy kick. That guy, he's special. He's special.
The call, Eagle, can you find a clip, please? It'd be super appreciated.
It's against Detroit, Eagle.
Yeah.
It was an indoor, so there shouldn't be any cold air coming out of people's mouths.
But I was going to say, why did you give me this? This clip is actually from this week, which is the weird thing.
I think I was trying to get a better Twitter link, and I was like if I'm going down the rabbit hole, click. Okay, that's the one, and then I pasted it.
But honestly, it was pretty intense. That game. I mean, listen, I think Detroit is the best 0-3 team in the league right now. They're actually a good team, and I think that
on its way. It bounces off the crossbar, and it's good.
Oh my God!
Oh my goodness!
Oh my!
I love this shit, man. You think that Dan Campbell, when he went home, he told his wife, he's like, we need guys like Justin Tucker on our team, so he's gonna trade a first-round pick for Justin Tucker?
He might absolutely.
If you're the Ravens, do you do it? If Dan Campbell calls, it's like, listen, I'll give you my first-rounder for Justin Tucker.
First rounder, yeah.
I think Dan Campbell has the potential of being the Mike Millen. Is it Mike Millen?
Matt
Millen. Matt Millen. Matt Millen or Mike Millen. I was thinking Mike Milbury.
Mm-hmm.
of our generation. I think
Matt Millen was hired by the same organization.
Yeah.
He's the one who drafted 3 wide receivers in the first round in back-to-back years.
Who were they? It was Roy Williams, Calvin Johnson, and
the other Mike Williams.
No, it wasn't Mike Williams.
No?
No. I know this. Fuck. Eagle. Produce something.
No.
He's on Pokemon.
Shit, Eagle, man. What do I pay you for?
You don't pay me. What do you want me to find?
The 3 wide receivers the Lions drafted back-to-back under Matt Millen.
In like the early 2000s.
Dan Campbell, though, he's a lot like we were talking about with Tomlin. Like, he's this guy who players seem to like him. He's a fun guy, but at some point, the losses will start getting worse because he's not a good coach. He's coached the Dolphins. I've been there. I've seen it. I know what it is.
First hand. He reminds me of Dave Campbell.
First round, second round, third round?
No. It's back-to-back years in the first round, a high draft pick.
They had Charles Rogers in 2003 at second. Then they had Roy Williams at 7th in 2004, and then they had Mike Williams in 5 and 10th.
Okay, so Calvin Johnson was probably later then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Calvin Johnson was 2007, and he was second. So they had Ernie Sims in between that as linebacker at 9th.
Oh,
otherwise it would have been 4 in a row.
They went 3 receivers, linebacker, receiver.
Well, otherwise it would have been 5 in a row.
No, Rogers, Williams, because they're technically the same. No, they're different years, rather. Then there was Mike Williams, and then there would have been Calvin Johnson. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It would have been 5 because the year that Sims went, if they drafted a receiver there.
Yeah, you're right. It would have been 5, yeah.
That would have been awesome. Just keep drafting till you get it right. But yeah, so in that game there, he kicks it, and the call was the opposite, where the dude was just like, silence for 4 seconds. I have no words. Yeah, I know. We heard you say nothing for 4 seconds. It was 4 seconds. Eagle. I just did play-by-play with Eagle. When you don't talk for 4 seconds, shit's getting thrown at you. From the production booth.
Dead air, man. I remember when I was working at a radio station.
You don't know what it sounds like when you don't say anything for 4 seconds? Speed!
Yeah. All the time.
I was working at a radio station. Dead air is the worst thing for broadcasting, right? It's like rule number 1. When I was working at a radio station, I had forgotten. I used to do the overnight playlist, and I had forgotten to start the music, start the playlist. So all night there was nothing that happened. The next day when I got in, luckily the radio station was a shit show. The owner of this radio station gave me so much shit, but fuck them.
So the Manning cast continues to grow somewhat in popularity, although it's getting, while the numbers are saying it's popular, the social media, which is, I always say, an improper indicator of these things, seems to be divided on whether or not the Manning cast is enjoyable. I enjoyed this particular clip where Peyton Manning was talking about Joe Buck.
All game. You see, I don't like having a co-host that knows as much as I do about coverage. I need a co-host that knows nothing about defensive coverage, like Joe Buck, right? I mean, Troy doesn't make mistakes very often, but when he does, Joe doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to coverage. So, no.
Touchdown. Fletcher Cox.
Can't hold the ball backed up in the end zone, E. We can't hold it.
All game.
You see, I don't like that. I don't like having.
So good.
Joe Buck's one of these guys who has a great sense of humor. If you've ever seen the show Brockmire, he's a great character playing himself on the show.
I know.
I'm sure these guys have a friendly relationship, and it was a funny joke. I enjoyed it.
That's 2 shows that I haven't been able. 2 shows that I want to see, but I haven't had a chance. It's Brockmire and Ted Lasso. I still haven't had a chance to watch those shows.
Both brilliant.
Yeah, I hear good things.
As Terry's voice is slowly dying in my headset, so at one point, Terry, if I don't respond to you, technology's failing us again.
Just blame Pokemon.
I think I saw this, and people are like freaking out about, they're annoying, this and that. I don't love the layout because I don't feel like I need to see them react to the game, but I kind of like the laid back nature. Like, I'm watching the game. I don't need for someone to tell me it's 2nd and 7 when the screen tells me it's 2nd and 7. I don't need to say Ezekiel Elliott running to the right when I see it. If there's guys who understand the game and can give some insight while also having a good time and having fun, because sports is supposed to be fun. I know that seems like a crazy concept.
But what are you talking about?
I think it's brilliant. I think to me this should be the future of what we come to expect from broadcasting.
Sports aren't supposed to be fun. Eagle, peace. Sports aren't supposed to be fun. Sports are supposed to be you want to throw shit at your TV because you lost $5 on a stupid bet on Hot Streak Fantasy,
But
something
that's
like that.
part of the fun. And how if I were to cost you money on Hot Streak Fantasy, how would I have done that? How do people access this app even?
Well, even if you did cost me money on Hot Streak Fantasy, the thing in Hot Streak Fantasy, what they're doing is if you use Hot Sauce promo code, they're going to give you that money back. So what I mean by that is if you deposit $20, they're going to give you $20 as a bonus. So that $20, you can just go bet it and then you'll just get it right back. Like that's pretty much what it is. And go ahead and do that. Use Hot Sauce promo code. It's the best fantasy app in the market. Right now with in the NFL, it's crazy, man. I'm just, especially the 1 o'clock games, I'm just firing off bets. I'm winning like $20, $30, $40 at a time, just picking it up. But I'm also losing $80, $90, $70 at a time too. So, I'm just trying to stay above level here.
But you know what? You get some free money too when you deposit and use the promo code Hot Sauce, right? So definitely, I enjoy it for the single games. It makes the next, because you're betting on like the next pass and the next running play by so and so. I like it for the single games because you kind of really catch the vibe of how the game is going. Still, for the baseball season, it's a lot of fun as well. So do check that out. So Eli did have one response with regards to the criticisms about the Manning cast, and here it is. That's right. 2 middle fingers in the broadcast.
And I don't think you can see it, but my understanding was he was wearing both of his Super Bowl rings on the fingers while he did this.
That was the joke.
But you can't see it in this, unfortunately. But yes, that is the joke.
I think that was doctored.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna say, because at one point he said something, but he does this with his hands up like this. I'm like, was that the time? And they cut it out like in post, or I don't know what the hell. No, because I didn't see the time where he did this.
I had the video, but I just like that Eagle. Every once in a while, feel free to just drop in that picture. Like whenever we're pissing you off, whenever we get pissed off at someone. So for example, looks like R. Kelly, double middle fingers from Eli Manning.
It kind of looks like Eagle.
Kind of looks like who?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, you kind of looks like
nothing like me.
Well, it depends.
The hair.
Can Mark Wahlberg play Eli Manning?
Yeah, no. Definitely.
No.
Then in that case, you guys look the same.
So how do you motherfucker?
There's no way Mark Wahlberg's chest is the same as Eli Manning's chest. There's no way. Also, Eli Manning is tall, and fucking Mark Wahlberg needs apple boxes everywhere.
Mark Wahlberg also played a jack crackhead. Like, that doesn't, you know what I mean?
Eli Manning can play a jack crackhead.
He can play a crackhead,
reserve that for Daniel Jones.
Maybe.
The best.
Maybe that's his future in New York. On the
Broadway. On the Manning cast at one point, it was too funny. It was Manning was doing the Dak Prescott, like the hip thrusts, whatever you want to call them, and then Peyton Manning goes, he's like, I don't think your boy's medium jeans are meant to be doing those things. Peyton's great, man. I love it. It's great what they do.
Honestly, and even Eli's got a great personality that we didn't see for years and years and years.
Oh yeah.
He's a funny guy. They're entertaining guys.
Yeah. For sure.
Speaking of how the media is not always as interesting, David Letterman was asked to interview the members of the New York Mets. Sorry, not the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
I was about to say New Jersey and then New York, and anyway, I got eventually, like from east to west. I got there. Sorry, from west to east, but. So he was asked to talk to the members of the team, and here's a clip, the hard-hitting question that he asked KD in that interview.
From Basketball Digest, Kevin, KD, why do people call you KD? Can I call you KD? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
My first name is Kevin.
Right.
And my second name, my last name. My second name. My last name is Durant with a D.
KD, this year, what percentage do you plan on giving on the court? 90, 95, 100, 110? What are we looking at?
110.
110. Dave from Basketball.
Hard-hitting questions from David Letterman.
But Basketball Digest doesn't exist, does it?
I don't.
I think this was like a little like joke they were running or whatever. But I don't know if
Yeah.
the
No,
players
I
were in
saw-
on it or if they saw him.
I saw
asking.
12 minutes. Maybe it was like a tribute to Norm Macdonald and the cringiness,
Maybe.
but it was hard. I watched the KD interview and I was like, oh my god! Like I could have literally pulled any 60 seconds from that interview and it's a cringe fest.
Also, why does KD look like he weighs 104 pounds?
It's just because he's unnatural. He's actually said that he would cry at night as a kid, like in high school, asking God to make him less tall because of how lanky he was and like how awkward he looked and stuff. And like he's a really muscular guy, but it's in the same kind of build as Kevin Garnett, but just taller than Kevin Garnett, right?
No, Kevin Garnett had like a fucking back that was wide like this, like his shoulders.
So KD, again, if you were to see KD in person, you'd be shocked by how big this is. Just that, like, when you're 7'1", you're normally shaped more like Shaq, or not more like Shaq, but more like a typical NBA center than someone who's just got this grasshopper type build, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing is, there was a book that came out on the Nets, and there's a guy who was with them for about 2 years, like during the whole like Kyrie and KD signing, as well as the signing of or the trade to get James Harden. He was there during that whole thing. He wrote a book about it, and one of the things he talked about was essentially how much weed KD smokes. Like he was amazed by like it's like 90s hip hop star era, like that's the amount of smoke that this guy is imbibing all the time. It's what he likes to do. He likes to hang out with his friends, watch movies, smoke a joint, play video games with his friends. Like he lives like a low key life. He doesn't do like a lot of the partying, a lot of the stars do. But so the reactions after that book, and you know that it's not a lie because KD is the first guy to burn you on Twitter if you know you're saying something that's not exactly true. But
with which account?
With one of his accounts, exactly. But he hasn't done it with his book, but he's basically Matt Sullivan was supposed to moderate this, and I guess was asked not to after the book came out. Matt Sullivan did make comments on the Dan Le Batard show about Kyrie Irving, who famously has not gotten vaccinated yet. And so here's this clip. Before we play it, Eagle, just to say that what the clip's about is Kyrie has said that because of New York State law, he won't be allowed to play home games or any games in the state of New York. He's suggesting that rather than getting vaccinated, he'll sit out all the games in New York State. And this is Matt Sullivan on the Dan Le Batard show on Meadowlark Media talking about that situation.
Matt, what do you think the NBA should do?
Well, to be clear, Stugotz, when I put this to the NBA, to some of their most high-ranking medical officials, there is no deal. New York City law requires players to be vaccinated to play home games at the Barclays Center. The Knicks, of all teams, are 100% vaccinated. But the league is in a bind. And they told me, these top medical officers told me, you know, if New York City says this isn't cool, we have to abide by the law. And so it's part of a lot of the eye rolling here. But if Kyrie wants to pull a kind of anti-Kaepernick stand for what he sees as his personal freedom and be a, I guess, role model for vaccine deniers, they can't do anything. The league is facing this pressure from the union, which is one of America's strongest unions. And they are just 100% out on the league's 100% desire to get these guys vaccinated. The league's 100%.
What does Kaepernick have to do with this?
I don't know. I think you was just trying to say like Kaepernick took a stand for one thing, but Kyrie take a stand for anti-vaxxers.
He's not anti-Kaepernick.
No, but I don't think he meant, like, again, we're only catching a clip.
That's the stupidest reference I've ever heard in my life.
What I understood that was, like, Kaepernick took a stand against police brutality. He's taking a stand against the vaccine and trying to be someone who... I've often said that I don't think Kyrie's dumb. I think he's a bad messenger on a lot of things because he doesn't... a lot of times I feel he's just contrary for the sake of being contrary, and doesn't realize that he holds a lot of power and a lot of influence.
Well, he's not the only one. There's Beal, there's Wiggins, right? Even LeBron came out and said, "Listen, I'm not." But
a lot of those also aren't flat earthers. right? Like,
well, neither is Kyrie anymore.
well, okay, once you go flat Earth, do you ever come back?
Yeah, you never go back.
Right?
Yeah. But even LeBron's come out, and you know how I feel about LeBron, and he actually said he's like, I'm not going to guilt people into doing anything with their bodies if they don't want to take the vaccine. It's on them. There's repercussions, and you do it. That's it.
There are two things about this. The one is, look, it's a state law. It's not about the NBA, right? The NBA has to follow laws. We saw that with attendance, right? Like, sports leagues don't want to have nobody at the games, right? But they did it for a year. The next thing to consider is that I am uncomfortable with the idea of the league enforcing what players should put into their bodies, right? Like, as a general precedent, not vaccine related, as a general precedent, I think, that should be like a personal choice. What I also found interesting is how many people in the political world were retweeting stuff about Kyrie saying "my body, my choice," and how many of them backed anti-abortion stances throughout their career. And I was like, do you not see the irony? Like,
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz was the first one I saw.
Yeah, I saw it too. Ted Cruz. And listen,
so cringy.
I get what he's doing, and Ted Cruz is trying. He's doing exactly what he says the Democrats do, where he's he's pandering to a specific audience, and he's like, oh,
how can that not be pandering, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the definition of it, and it's so hypocritical. All of them too. It's like, well, if their body, their choice, they can do whatever they want. But then they justify the abortion thing by murder, which that's how they see it.
What if you murder someone by giving them COVID? Because that could still happen.
But you can still give them COVID even if you're vaccinated.
But there's a whole bunch of information about how you're contagious for less time. You're less contagious with the vaccine, so on and so forth. And the fact that vaccination over time kills a virus. It's not a miracle cure. It's like polio. It took 15 years to clear through vaccination.
It's also not a cure. Like it's a treatment.
It's a vaccine. It's a treatment.
It's a treatment. Yeah, it's not a cure. It's not. It's even like it's not genetic mutation. There's a word. There's a word they use. It's on their website and on Pfizer's website. It's like genetical something. It's like they're just trying to change something in our genetics that allows us to defend against it.
So those exist already in your genetics. It's not genetic modification the way it's been said. They're taking things that are within your body and heightening their effectiveness. Essentially.
I'm vaccinated and I don't mind being vaccinated, but I'm not going to judge people that aren't vaccinated.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. It's just like I said, it can't go both ways. You can't say that you're good with their body, their choice, and then the most obvious example of that.
For Terry's information, the best way I've heard it described is traditional vaccines would just give you a little bit of the disease, whatever it is, and your body would kind of struggle and adapt how to fight it, and it was just weak enough that your body would always win and then therefore know how to do it, versus the new ones actually give the instructions on how to fight it, essentially. So your body doesn't need to go through the learning process. So best way you can simplify
like H1N1.
Imagine taking like a barbecue out of the box and just building it from scratch and trying to figure it out and does the burner go here and where do the wheels go, that type of shit, versus using the instruction manual that comes with it, right? That's kind of the difference between the traditional ones versus nowadays.
I'm looking forward to the medical journal that says COVID vaccine just like a barbecue.
Just like Pokemon.
But so what are your thoughts very quickly before we move on to the last main topic here on Kyrie Irving potentially sitting out all home games? Like they'll still make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's his choice. I mean, he did it last year anyway, and that wasn't home games, but he sat out like half the season with injuries. So
but is it your choice? So I understand load management if it's an agreement you make with your employer, but there's no employer in the world that will let you get paid full for working half the amount of time. I think that's a whole other. And then what do you do in the playoffs? You're paying him to help you win a championship, right? So if he's not there for the home games in the playoffs, that's a big deal.
I think he's hoping that by the time they get to the playoffs that maybe the restrictions are going to be lifted, which is likely.
How quickly does KD say trade for Ben Simmons or get the vaccine? How quickly?
I think that's a good one. They should trade for Ben Simmons. That's a good trade.
Perfect fit. It would be a perfect fit.
Here's a hot take. New York gets desperate come close to the end of the season and revokes the requirements.
No, de Blasio would never do it.
No.
You never know.
Nah, he would never do it. This is the same guy.
New York State.
It's
state.
It's a state, but I think New York.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Who's the
I don't know.
The senator, the governor. Sorry, I have no idea. The governor of New York. But anyway, listen. It's
the new girl. It's Katie Huckle. The one who took over from Andrew Cuomo when he got kicked out.
Oh, it was Andrew Cuomo. Exactly, it was Andrew Cuomo, the Italian molester.
He taught me I wasn't Italian enough because I don't grope enough people.
Yeah, you don't grope enough people.
Yeah.
I'm Italian. I kiss people on the mouth and they don't want to be kissed.
I've been trying to kiss Eagle in the mouth. He won't let me.
Yeah, so maybe you're closer to Andrew Cuomo than you thought.
I guess so. The Rays principal owner Stuart Sternberg mentioned putting up a sign to advertise for the team's games that will be held in sister city Montreal, which is projected for the near future. Then decided to pull the sign down. I want to get you guys' thoughts on what you think this all means. I have a theory, because I've seen it before, and I think I'm just a little bit older enough that I remember it. Oh, actually, not even, because it happened with another team. But I remember this happening, and I don't know if you guys actually remember this as viscerally as I do. Eagle, what are your thoughts?
I think it's bait. I think he wants something, and this is an easy way of applying leverage.
That's a good call, Eagle. I think that he's wanted to tickle the fancy of the Montreal of the Quebec government and Montreal, the city of Montreal, to see if they're going to be like, hey, yeah, we want it. And so far, nobody's bit yet. So I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm excited. I'm dressed up for the occasion. I'm ready to go to a game. I'm ready to go to a game right now. I'll buy season tickets today.
We said it. You and I, Terry, 100%. We're in.
100%. I think we should buy 4 seats right down first baseline. Yeah, that's it, man.
Maybe give it away to some of our viewers. Come watch the game with us.
There you go. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I was thinking. The other thing, because you're saying it from a Montreal perspective, I think it has nothing to do with Montreal. I think it has entirely to do with Tampa. And it's because I thought of my arch nemesis. When David Sampson was trying to get a stadium built in Miami, he went down to Dallas and he put on the biggest cowboy hat in the world and sat at a Cowboys game and went to a Stars game and got his picture taken eating at every steakhouse. And the whole point of it, and Billy Corbin was the best of this, just calling out all of the bullshit, saying like, you're not moving a team to Dallas. You just got the right to get this team at like a super discount. You're not moving Team Dallas. You're just trying to leverage the city to giving you money. And what ended up happening, the city gave them money. They felt pressured. They built a giant stadium that nobody goes to. And that's exactly what's happening. I can't believe David Sampson wrote the book on this. And we're seeing it happen again. And more Florida politicians, the same state, will fall for it again. I promise you they'll fall for it again.
When we get a little bit more details, maybe we should get Sampson back on so we can talk about it.
I'm sure he'd love to.
Yeah. When we get a little bit more details. But I'd love for it to happen. The city hasn't said anything yet. And everybody's like, I'm in a few Expos groups. And it's like one guy screenshots a Peel Basin. And he's like, guys, it was too funny. He said it in French. He's like, he sends the screenshot of the Peel Basin. And he's like, guys, I just Googled this because I have no idea where it is. But like, where the fuck are you going to put a stadium?
It's on top of some condos.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it's a good area. It's a booming area, like that whole Griffintown area too. So I think it'd be cool down there.
I'm also out on the idea that the Olympic Stadium wasn't in a good area. Like when you go see a game in Miami, you have to drive for like 48 minutes to get.
But it's Miami. You have to drive anywhere all the time.
Terry, in Montreal, there was cheap parking at the stadium. There's a metro line that stops exactly there. There's no excuse. There's no you're 15 minutes from downtown by metro.
It's not that it was like
stadium. And Saputo Stadium, by the way, doesn't have a problem getting people in it, which is in the same location. Want to know why? Because of parking, and by the way, it's on the goddamn metro line.
No, but you have to understand something, that if you don't get enough people to the game, and if it wasn't easily accessible. You know what I mean? And
hard disagree.
It wasn't easily accessible.
Hard disagree.
It wasn't. It wasn't. You have to drive. I'm from the West Island. You're from the East End. You're from there. It's very different for you.
The argument you're making is only people that live in the West Island.
No, West Island, Saint Laurent, like it's just always it was always inconvenient to get to. And anybody west of Papineau will tell you the same thing.
No, I disagree. If you live in any city and you see how far a lot of these stadiums are from, Candlestick Park was so far from San Francisco. It was always full.
No, so my thing is that if you're gonna put the team there, fine. You chose Saint Leonard. Saint Leonard is not known for baseball. Whatever, same shit. If it's literally right across the street, it's the same. Like you pass Sherbrooke and you're in St. Leonard.
I'm just saying
right?
that point. At that point, it's like I
don't mind. I don't mind
the
that
metro line.
I don't mind that it's on the Metro line is a good thing, but the problem is that it was a dump. It was if you're gonna put a
my
stadium
thing is the
there,
stadium is trash. I
yeah.
agree that the stadium was the problem. The location wasn't that bad.
The reason why Saputo Stadium does so well now, and it's because first of all, it's you don't need as many people. It's soccer. That whole area is a lot more soccer friendly than baseball friendly. Like I think we can both agree on that. And overall, and they have games on the weekends. They don't have games in the afternoons. Like the Expos had games in the afternoons. Who's gonna go from downtown? Like, let's say they buy tickets for $20. Okay, if the stadium was downtown and you work downtown, it's like, hey, let's go take a 2-hour lunch break. We'll go watch it. We'll go watch a couple hours of the game, have a couple beers, and come back to work. That's what people do in New York. That's what people do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just for these afternoon games, but you couldn't do that in Montreal because all you had was this place that wasn't even close to a residential area.
You mentioned it is close to a residential area.
Not really.
Maisonneuve's right there.
Secondly, no, but it's not. But it's not like
you talked about New York, dude. It's the Bronx and it's Queens. Like,
yeah,
those stadiums are not in the city. It's further.
Also,
it takes longer to get there. It takes longer to go from Manhattan to there than it takes you to go from downtown Montreal to Maisonneuve.
Yeah, in New York, from Manhattan to Queens to watch it to go to Citi Field. Yeah, it took me about 45 minutes on the train. 100%.
Exactly.
I guess
you 15 minutes from downtown to Joliet Metro, wherever it is.
It's a P9 Metro.
It's 15 minutes.
But it's not. It's just like it's that extra. The team wasn't good enough to begin with. It's the extra push you have to do to get there.
If the team was good and we had something similar to Saputo Stadium, I think, and we didn't get absolutely screwed by our own ownership during the strike, I think things would have been different. Is all I'm saying.
I disagree, man. I think that it was. I mean, listen, I'm not. It's not.
Obviously, downtown.
It's not the end all be all. It's not the only reason why the team isn't there anymore. It's definitely not. But it's a major factor when you look at it. It's like they didn't. They should have. They needed to build. They needed to build Labatt Park. If they had built Labatt Park, the problem is solved.
That was an excuse.
I'll put my left nut on the line. That's
an excuse perpetrated by the evil David Sampson. First of all,
and I agree with
and I'm not saying downtown's not better. I'm just saying there's a lot of cities where the park is nowhere near the actual city.
Yeah, but then you look at Philadelphia, and all their pro sports stadiums are together. You look at Pittsburgh, the same thing. They're all next to each other.
But I'm not saying it's not better. I'm saying it wasn't the problem. I'm saying that was an excuse.
I'm saying is if we had
the Jerry Park, which isn't far. Jerry Park's harder to get to.
If we had Labatt Park in the Peel Basin, or if we had Labatt Park downtown, Griffintown, wherever they decided to put it, I'd still be wearing this hat. I never would have been a Mets fan.
I think to Pisa's point, if you have a better team, it doesn't matter where the park is.
A better team and a better stadium is important because that stadium's
exactly. So if your team is shit, if your team isn't good, you can't expect people to come out that far. That's just the reality of it.
But if your team's good, you'll get the attendance and hopefully get the money for that new stadium.
Exactly.
Even at that, like we had a run in the early 2000s, and they weren't filling up. They were still selling games at $5. Like it wasn't worth it. Like people, the city didn't do enough for the team. That's one.
Well, the principal owners didn't do enough. Like when we interviewed David Sampson, that was one of the things that we said that, like, yeah, he's the villain, obviously, but at the same time, we had Montreal royalty that owned this team that refused to put, the smallest investment. And it's going to cost them like 10 times the amount to bring them back versus keeping them here would have cost them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a nice, fun, passionate local argument. We always say we're not a show about Montreal, but we are a Montreal show. So we're gonna dig into Montreal topics now and again for sure. But let's get into rapid fire. We got no guests today. We will have some in the coming weeks, of course. But let's do it. Right into rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire. I cut the first one because we're a little bit low on time, and we can do it any other week. So we're going to go directly to our second topic.
But it was part of the directive that Terry gave me specifically.
That's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll use the Expos, and you go first.
We had local stuff, right?
Yeah.
El Presidente Spitfire. Hall of Fame pitcher Pedro Martinez had the following to say about MLB umpires while on a live stream himself.
Career, Luke Weaver.
Well, the umpires don't know shit about what they're doing.
Pedro. I think we're on a delay. Fingers crossed. We'll clean that up for the rear. That was run. He's never been called for a balk in his career, Luke Weaver.
Well, the umpires don't know shit about what they're doing.
Pedro. I love it.
So again, This is the kind of things I like in broadcasting. It kind of makes it feel like you're just chilling, watching the game with your friends. And of course, the network had to then apologize and so on.
I actually watched a full Mets game. I forgot who it was. The Mets. I want to say the Braves. It was the Mets and the Braves. And I watched the full MLB Network broadcast. It was Pedro Martinez, David Ortiz.
Yeah, it was on the Zone. It was on Baseball Night in America.
Yeah, exactly.
It was good. I love Pedro. Also, like soft spot because greatest Expos pitcher of all time, greatest pitcher of all time, Pedro Martinez.
All right. Raising Kane, the NHL inquiry into the NHL forward Evander Kane and whether or not he bet on NHL games has concluded in that there is no proof that he did bet on his own games, but has sparked 2 new investigations, the first of which regarding treatment of his ex-wife or estranged wife, because I don't think they're still technically married. And secondly, whether or not he breached COVID protocols, probably as a result of going to Vegas to gamble while still on an NHL team and playing.
This is
what do you expect from the dummy?
So it feels like I see sometimes there's things that play out in like real time. And then we find out years later how terrible things actually were. Like, I kind of feel like when we hear the full Kanye story, we'll all be very depressed, like, after he passes. And Evander Kane, like, it just coming across as maybe this dude's not a good person.
He's not. I can tell you from the beginning. I don't care if he didn't cheat in gambling. He's not a good human. The way he's treated people, the things he said online, his entire perception from the beginning, he's just not a good human at all. And it's just the truth.
It does seem that way. It's a shame to see someone who's that talented who just can't seem to manage everything else, and it's really frustrating. I honestly hope that at some point this gets fixed. I hope that if he's done anything criminal, he pays the price. And if he's done things that are inappropriate, I hope he takes the steps to get better because this is just getting worse and worse.
Jameis Reacher. This is actually like the second week in a row, I think, that we have Jameis Winston in Rapid Fire. He once again has been caught. He's been caught on film doing something else stupid. We all remember the Eat a W.
What do you mean? That was the greatest moment in television history.
It was the greatest moment. Here's the next greatest moment during the pregame speech this past Sunday.
I got his back. Man, look at the man beside you. Look at him. He counting on you.
He was looking at him. And Alvin Kamara was counting on Jameis Winston. Not be linebacker blind.
The thing is that he's just such a cheesy person, he's so in the moment that he's just so cheesy. He's so he's a ultimate football guy. Football guy.
He seems like that goofball in your group of friends who's not actually funny, but he's just gonna make you smile and make you laugh every time because he's just a pile of dad jokes. Right? Like
he's Terry.
Well, I think I'm pretty funny.
That was mean. That was a bridge too far.
Yeah, man. Usually our shots are directed.
All right, fine. He's Alex the intern.
There we go.
Appreciate it. More on point, on pace.
Speaking of morons, another stain. There's a report regarding Andre Deniskin's suspension has been made available. He was given a 13-game suspension and a fine for this lovely act where he basically calls Jalen Smirnek a monkey.
So this is in Ukraine. I mean, Alex told us too. He's like, I'm not surprised. Alex is born in Russia, so he's kind of knows the stuff. But Anthony Duclair actually came out as like, this guy should be banned for life. Like 13 games isn't enough. I don't think that he should be banned for life. I'll say that. I think that what he did is completely disgusting, and he should be kicked out for the rest of the season. Maybe 2. I think that people make mistakes. I think that people can rectify their mistakes, second chances. I don't know if this is the first time he's done it or whatever. If he said racial slurs on the ice before and they're just talking about it now, but they suspended him. They did something. You can start from there. I don't think it was enough, but I don't think he should be banned for life.
So suspensions are agreed upon by the league and players' unions, and so he had the maximum penalty. Is the maximum penalty too light? Yes.
Yeah.
Should further action be taken? Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, showing you're contrite is an important part of this, and involving yourself in the education of others to help others recognize that this isn't appropriate. The best example of this, we played a clip from the Le Batard show earlier. one of the ways I first heard of the Dan Le Batard show was when Tim Hardaway Tim Hardaway Sr. went on talking about how he was disgusted by gay people. And Tim Hardaway has since gone to become an advocate for gay people. He's invested a lot of his own money in causes for gay people. He speaks at events talking about, hey, this is what I learned, through my bigotry, through my hatred. This is what I learned, and this is why we need to treat these people properly. So to me, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see sports leagues start to do this in their agreements. Like, this is
absolutely
fine. I don't want to take money out of people's hard-earned paycheck. At the same time, when you make a mistake, the way you pay for it is actually making it better.
So like Logan Mailloux.
Yeah, let's see what Logan Mailloux does with his time here. Exactly.
And our last topic for today, gone in 60 seconds. After first being mistaken for a homeless man, our resident famous actor that we all come to love, Nicolas Cage, was then asked to leave Laurie's The Prime Rib in Las Vegas, and it's caught on film.
Because he's not wearing shoes?
So Nicolas Cage here is a little bit up. He had a bit too much to drink.
He looks skinny, man.
He's about to get kicked out of Larry's in Las Vegas. It shows you.
What a life, huh?
Sad, but also amazing.
What a life.
Nicolas Cage.
Money does too many things to you. And then when you have it for so long and then you don't have it anymore, it fucks you up even more.
And like Nicolas Cage still has money because he makes 8 films a year. And like he's literally had a career. His
but isn't that just paying off things?
Yeah, he has so many debts. So I'm always kind of delighted, although I'm always kind of sad to see the state of him because his movies bring me so much joy, both when they're amazing. Like I don't like them when they're neither, when they're just fine. Because some of his movies are incredible, some of his movies are terrible, and those are all of his best movies. But I will say, maybe you should take the advice of one of his most famous roles and just leave Las Vegas. It's time.
Just there you go. That's a good one. Matchstick Man. And Face Off. And Face Off.
Just Lord of War. Just Weatherman yourself.
Just become a vampire.
Yeah. But the people who thought he was a homeless person wearing those fly leopard prints, this is what Eli Manning had to say to you.
Oh, I don't have it handy yet. No! You can't set me up like that.
Oh, that's the show. Thank
You're
you, Eagle. Thank you, Terry. Thank you for everyone who has liked and subscribed. If not, please do so. And remember, thank you for letting me be myself. You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports.